I know that you did not watch MSI this weekend, but I do think we have some MSI-related conversation. Emily, a couple points you wanted to bring up?
I just wanted to talk about, TSM, first of all, the wild card play-in was this past week. I know Mark is incredibly familiar with it as he casted it.
Desk.
But basically, just to give a quick brief of it, I actually was personally expecting a little bit more out of a few of the teams. And I think as a whole, the minor regions represented looked a little bit weaker than I had previously anticipated. So TSM is in their the next round of MSI. They're going to be facing Gigabyte Marines, and then Flash Wolves are going to be facing Supermassive. And then presumably, I think TSM and Flash Wolves are going to advance. So I guess I just wanted to get your thoughts on how strong do you think TSM are going to be at the main event? We're just going to assume that they make it.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm biased because we got completely shit on by them in playoffs and in scrims as well. But I think TSM is really good. And I think they're a lot better than what they showed versus C9. I think TSM is as a team maybe a 9 out of 10, and at the time C9 was a 5 out of 10. I think.
Ooh, wow.
Well, maybe not that extreme, but I do think TSM, I was expecting just a straight up 3-0 or maybe 3-1 if they lose game 1 or something like that. But I was expecting TSM to just kind of stomp it based off of scrims and everything like that. And maybe it's just not fair to say because the series was really close. But I think TSM is really good. And unless if something drastic happened during their boot camp to MSI or whatever during their scrims, I think they'll do really well actually.
What do you think went wrong against C9 to make it go to a pretty close 3-2?
I don't know. I got flashbacks of the FlyQuest versus CLG series though, because they stomped the first 2 games and then almost lost the series, which is CLG completely destroyed us the first 2 games and then we came back. I don't really know.
Do you know what happened in the CLG series from their end?
I got Rengar.
That happened. All right, never mind. It's Tony's place to tell you. You can ask Tony maybe.
Still looking back, maybe this isn't the best thing to say, but I feel like CLG was probably the better team.
So I had heard CLG was actually doing super good in scrims at the time and were taking games off TSM pretty regularly. Yeah. So I heard that the CLG was supposed to be super good, which I think why it was such a massive upset when you guys beat them and really cool.
Yeah. I still feel like they deserved that win, but I took it from them.
Yeah, you take that to the bank, dude. No, they're the better team, but I'm the better player. So
I think
brought Evelyn out in the 5th game.
Yeah.
That was
I don't even think it's good. I just styled on them. I was like, yeah, give me that
good.
Evelyn. I don't care.
We were behind that game. We were going to lose. In the game, it felt like we were doing really well. And then I watched it back and we're like, oh, I'm down. We're down 5,000 gold. How the f did we win this game? And then it's oh, Camille dashed into us. Yeah, we won.
That was a That was a pretty bad call.
Okay, so we know TSM is really good, but presumably all the other teams are going to be really good too. So do you, Moon, think that they have much of a chance, against, because they are going to have to go up against SKT in this situation?
Yeah, I think TSM is really good, but I think I'm also a huge Flash Wolves fan. So I gotta, if they play Flash Wolves,
you're probably the only NA pro who would ever say that, right?
What? That
I think a lot of people who know, because Flash Wolves have competed internationally a lot.
Right.
I feel like people at least follow Maple and Karsa just because they're one of the. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong and no one knows who they are.
Yeah.
But
it depends who you're asking in North America. I think the casual NA fan might not know of them or might remember them a little bit from Worlds where it's yeah, they lost to C9.
In really long, bad, the Flash Wolves games. Those are terrible.
Yeah, so they might know them from that. But I think the question is so there's 6 teams in the round robin portion of it and 4 move on. Do you think that there's 2 teams worse at MSI than TSM that would make sure that TSM moves on? Because I think that's the big question is do they get to the bracket stage?
I think TSM will make top 4. I think.
Who's worse than them?
I don't know all of the teams. So it's Flash Wolves, TSM, SKT.
There's still the playing part that's going to start.
Right, but those are the teams that
we're acting under the assumption Flash Wolves, Flash Wolves, TSM, and then let's say Supermassive.
So they're better than Supermassive, I would say. And then maybe they're better than WE? No?
China expert? You said you watched LPL, right?
I do watch China. I didn't watch much. I didn't know WE was actually a good team. So I watched mainly, they had 2 brackets, right? They had 2 separate.
Yeah, they have 2.
So I watched RNG from that bracket, and then I forget who I watched on the other side. But I don't really know much about WE as a team, so.
I mean, so it sounds like it's a soft commitment to them getting top four.
No, I would. I feel like I would put a lot into it. Actually, I think I'm pretty confident that they'll make top 4.
So your top 4 would be what? SKT,
Flash Wolves.
Flash Wolves, TSM, and G2.
Oh, G2 is worse.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah, they'll choke.
All right, let's. I feel
kidding.
like we gotta put
I'm
something,
kidding.
we gotta
I'm
put something
totally
on the
kidding.
line. Like I want to
I'm
bet
totally
between
kidding.
Emily and you because she's like all China, Europe, like gung ho.
So you think
Am I?
TSM? You think
I don't
TSM
know.
won't make
I
top
don't know.
4?
I'm just trying to start conflict. I actually don't know if she thinks. She's like, yeah, she hates TSM. She thinks they're garbage. Yeah.
I do not. What would my top 4 be?
Yeah. Well,
That's like actually really tough. No, because like it's weird. It's really actually it's hard for me to rank Flash Wolves because they have a good matchup against SKT actually. Like so even though I think SKT will take the tournament, I think Flash Wolves their playstyle matches up really well against what you'd want to do against SKT. I've said that before on the show. G2 is so weird because it's all like intangibles. Like I don't want to knock them down for intangibles.
Every time we have asked for 4 episodes, we've always asked Emily for some sort of type of prediction. She goes, well, you know,
predicting
like
things.
there's this and
Because
this.
I run
and
through
then this
like
could happen,
someone else like called me out on Reddit for this too, and it's because I run through like so many specific like team matchups. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you just have to
well,
tell
this
you
could
have to say
happen,
what your
this could happen,
gut
this
or
could
heart
happen.
tells you about these things.
You can just like what I do is I just make things up and then I stick with it. Like I'm like, oh yeah, like TSM is really good. They're top 4.
Yeah.
So these are the teams that'll make it, and then you just gotta stick with it and act really confident.
and then if you're wrong, you just have to come up with a couple excuses
Yeah,
for what
yeah.
went like.
Oh,
well,
I did
TSM was really good, but
jet
Turtle
lag.
got abused. When
Yeah,
Double Lift comes
exactly.
back,
You guys might be able to get away with it, but I will not.
So you just have no top 4.
SKT. I think SKT will definitely
Okay,
be in the top
that's a
four.
safe, that's a safe one.
I actually think Flash Wolves will be in the top 4,
Okay,
So-
then you got 2 more.
and then 2 of W
Oh,
and G2.
all right. Well, we tried. What makes TSM so good?
I think Svenskeren and Bjergsen are, and
Okay, so
Hanser,
it's, again, the
their
mid-jungle.
their top side of the map is just so good. And I feel like their bot lane was not the best during the regular split, but during playoffs, I think they played surprisingly well. Same with Svenskeren. I don't know, like TSM is just really good. Because I feel like during the regular season, like Svenskeren was kind of inting, and their bot lane wasn't playing that well, but they were still like destroying everybody. So they're just a good team, I think.
So you just think it's on the strength of the individual players. You don't think that this is like a synergy thing or
I think it's the opposite.
Their
I think
coaching
it is,
staff
I
is
think it is like a synergy thing.
Okay.
I think Bjergsen and Hanser played super well when they were obviously they played well the entire split, but I would say like the other 3 players, while they weren't bad, it's like it's TSM. You know, you expect kind of more out of them, and I think they weren't really putting up that performance, but they were still beating every other team. So
Right.
I think a lot of it did come down to they just had the game kind of figured out how to play. They would abuse, at least in scrims. The only time I'd ever learn as a jungler, like from the other jungler, was Svenskeren, because he was the only jungler. Not that he would like destroy me early, but he was the only jungler that would punish me when his lanes were winning. You know, if top and mid were pushing in, which always happens when you're playing versus TSM, their top and mid always pushes in. He would always invade my blue buff or red buff or something like that, and actually make me feel pressured. So.
Random question, kind of from last episode, was we were talking about like MVP. What was your vote for MVP? Do you remember?
I think, going back to the voting, I think I voted for Arrow, but I swear to God I don't remember doing that, and I swear I voted for Hanser.
Wait,
So maybe
I voted for. It's not like you have to be ashamed. We all voted for Arrow.
no. I
It's
look
him
at like
coming up with an excuse. He's doing what you.
Exactly. He's like,
He's following
like-
his exact pattern.
my mouse.
I voted
my mouse
for Arrow, but then when I saw Hanser was who everybody was talking about on Reddit, I realized I actually voted for Hanser in my mind.
yeah, maybe that is actually what happened. I when I went back and the voting got released, I was like, wait, I voted for Arrow. I think I voted for like Arrow, then Bjergsen, then Hanser. In my actual voting, but in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, Hanser, then Arrow. So, but I think, honestly, I think Hanser deserved it, I think, but Arrow getting it is like not a bad thing. Is that, and maybe Arrow deserved
I mean,
it
the
because
sky was falling.
maybe, I don't know, maybe Arrow did deserve it because Phoenix One is like not even a team without him, I think. I think he is like the backbone, at least during the regular season, the backbone for his team.
Right, I think-
Whereas Hanser, TSM is just going to be good. So
Right. I think that's where a lot of like the arguments came from was like Arrow on P1 is like so important for that team, and like half the league could kind of fill Hanser's role. Not be exactly the same, you know,
Yeah.
still be a downgrade, but TSM still might get number one with, you know, Flame, or even like as long as his like, you know, communication was fine.
yeah, but I also think that's just like everyone was playing tank tops, and like you can only do so much. You can only look so good when you're Maokai versus Nautilus.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he did have a nasty Camille.
yeah, he did.
So
All right, we're kind of wrapping up here, and we'll bring Kelsey on in a second. Say goodbye to Moon. But do you guys have any other questions or anything you want to throw Moon's way before we leave? We have the
I
time.
think I'm good.
Nothing.
I don't think I have any more questions. Just
I think we're
have
done.
fun.
with
Have
you.
fun in the off season. Don't lose your mind. You got like
I'm
four
going to.
four more weeks.
Are you gonna go on a
I got-
trip or do anything fun? You should. You should.
stream?
Like pro
I
players.
stream, but man, it's exhausting. Like I don't know why, but I can only stream for like 3 to 4 hours now before I'm just like, I'm done.
Is the social part where like you have to interact with chat and it distracts me? That's the number one complaint I hear out of pro players is like, man, when I stream, I'm bad. And
I really enjoy like interacting with chat and stuff like that, but like I don't know, it's weird because I feel like I do really enjoy doing that stuff. Like I really enjoy interacting with fans and stuff like that, but I just get exhausted after like 3-4 games, which before I would stream, after Energy, I would stream for like 12 hours every day in off season. And now I'm just, after 3 games, I'm like, okay, I'm done with League for the day. I'm going to go lay down in bed for the rest of the day.
Legitimately though, you should go out there and do something. You should go take a trip or hang out with some friends or do something because pro players never do. I feel like that stuff is really good for like kind of resetting and refreshing. Because imagine
Yeah.
if
You
you
have a
do go to
girlfriend?
Worlds.
Not anymore.
I saw-
get on Tinder, dude.
there was a Twitter post yesterday that just said, "I'm single," by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I deleted it.
I know, but
Right
I
after.
screenshotted it.
Did you
I
screenshot?
should have. Yes, it's on my phone. I should have loaded it up and ready to go.
Yeah.
I didn't think that your relationship status would actually come up on the show, but
Yeah.
Sorry.
yeah, no, I mean, but this is good. You know,
I mean, if I wasn't single, I would not be very bored in off season. I would just be like hanging out with.
You should just sign up for Tinder and like, you know, tweet about your adventures and how it's going for you. I'm sure that would
That'd be pretty
entertain a lot of
entertaining,
your
actually.
fans. Yeah.
That would actually be pretty funny.
pro players don't need Tinder; they have Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can do both.
Yeah, well, hedge your
It's not
bets.
like
If I just
as
keep
you
up-
heard, he's pretty bored. I think he's got the
I'm
time.
pretty bored. If I kept up that single by the way tweet, then
Yeah.
that's my Tinder.
You'd pin it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pin it to the top of your Twitter. That's all you need. Moon, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It's
Yeah, of
been
course.
really fun having you on, and thank you for being our first pro player. I've learned so much about pro players on the show, or at least remembered, like how you guys don't read anything. But again,
That's
thank
going
you.
to be the one thing he remembers.
Thank you so much. When we come back from break, we will be joined by Kelsey, and we'll be talking about MSI play-ins and some predictions coming up and all sorts of fun stuff. So stay tuned after the break.